activism is this sort of dual-edged thing, because I like whatever you fight, you become. And so I'm very careful and cautious with any type of activism, because I also believe that like we don't need to spread more fear and panic. And often there's fear and panic around, climates that are the stuff that we're talking about, such as climate change. But there doesn't need to be fear and panic, but we can do what we can to take care of our planet.
Nice to meet you. I'm Adam.
Adam, good to see you, my friend. How are you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's awesome. That is good to hear. Yeah, this is a podcast about you and your journey in music. And obviously we'll talk about the song you just released and everything else that's going on with Jagwar Twin.
Excellent, my friend.
Cool. I always start off with born and raised. Are you originally from LA? I think you're in Orange County area, correct? Or were?
Yeah, I grew up in Orange County, and then moved to LA when I was around 19 or
Okay.
so.
What
Yeah.
part of Orange County? I'm from San Diego. I live in Nashville now,
Oh
but I'm
yeah.
originally from San Diego.
San Diego's great. I grew up in the city of Orange.
Oh, okay. Very, very
Yes.
cool. That's a cool place to
Santa
grow
Ana
up.
when I was younger, and then smack dab in the city of Orange from 12 on.
Oh, right on. And as far as like growing up there, what was it like? Did you go to the beach a lot, or like, I mean, the culture there is so cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's different. It's very, very family oriented, very suburban, um, very kind of, I guess, what you would label traditional values.
Sure.
It's cool. I think I've experienced a lot of different perspectives, and it's nice to go back and visit my parents. I've been visiting them more as they get older, and yeah, it's cool. I enjoy seeing all sorts of perspectives.
That's awesome. And what about music as far as music goes? You come from a musical household, a creative household, like what was like piano at an early age? Like, how did you first get introduced to music?
My dad is very creative, not in a musical way. He doesn't really, he's not into music, but he's
Okay.
very creative in the way that he thinks and perceives the world. He's very in touch with his feelings and emotions, and he's amazing at painting and drawing and sculpting and anything with his
Awesome.
hands he can build. And he was always like an artist and an art director. My mom is also very creative, but more in a mystic, sort of intuitive way, I would say. She's very spiritual. Um, from the lens of Christianity, but she's a closet mystic. She just doesn't know it.
Okay.
Uh, and she's very creative. She loves music and enjoys music. So she would always play music, world music, different types of music, and have me like, well, as I was a kid, she'd be like, "What is that instrument?" And I'd pick out like it's a dulcimer, or it's a tuba, or whatever. So I was exposed to some interesting things as a kid.
Yeah, some interesting instruments as well. It wasn't like, is this a guitar or
Definitely.
a bass? Right.
No, she didn't listen to a lot of normal music.
Okay. So you were you able
Yeah.
to kind of like, I mean, knowing those sort of instruments, did you study? Like, how did you end up kind of picking out those specific, instruments when it came to those things?
Mm. Well, I think we would talk about them, like my mom and I, when we were a kid, and it's really apparent when you listen to a Jaguar Twin song like "The Circle,"
Uh-huh.
when it's like a lullaby almost. Long ago there was a jaguar with the world tied on a string. It's very, um, it's not pop. It's not a traditional
No.
pop melody, although it has sort of a Swedish structure in the mathematics behind the melody. And I think it's been interesting to dive into my ancestors lately, and I have Swedish genes, and I think that's where a lot of my love for geometry and melody comes from. Those sort of patterns and very structured patterns melodically. But then I also have German and Polish and Russian, and that's sort of like you can hear that in Happy Face with the sort of
Mhm.
Russian, German, Polish.
Yeah.
So I've been diving even further into that on this new stuff, and it's a fun exploration.
That's amazing. I love how you kind of compared or brought in like, geometry into the music, because if you really break it down, like like have you seen, I'm sure you have, like where not only is it numbers that relate to music, but like certain frequencies will create certain shapes on water.
That's right.
Like, yeah,
The
it's
what is
so
it? The Emoto water.
ye- I can't
I forget what
remember,
its name
it's
is. I know what you're talking about, though. Yeah,
but that's so wild. Like
incredible,
it'll be,
incredible.
you'll see certain notes and the things will go together, and almost like it's almost like if you knew how to create certain patterns, like you could make like an art piece within the water, which could probably be some sort of like it would sound good to your ears. I don't know. It just my mind can't even wrap my head around how far and deep that could get.
That's right. It goes really deep, and which is one of the reasons why I tune all Jaguar Twin music to 444 hertz, which is a healing
Oh,
frequency. A
yeah,
lot of
yeah,
people don't know
yeah.
this, but every song is tuned to 444 hertz, which was a process to figure out how to do, but it's a healing frequency. Um, that traditional music is tuned to 440 hertz,
Yeah.
but that has some, if you look in the water experiments and you look into even like what it does into the human body. I mean, we're made predominantly of water, right?
Water, right? Yeah.
um so 440 hertz kind of creates a jagged structure, and you can see it show up in the aura as well. And so there's 432 hertz, which is a very grounding earth frequency, which is also a healing frequency. But then there's 444 hertz, which is sort of a to raise human consciousness and expand it. And it's what in ancient times, like King Solomon and King David would tune their instruments to.
Really? That's so fascinating.
Mhm.
Yeah, because I know different frequencies, like you said, there's healing frequencies. And if you really dive in like on YouTube, like you can listen to certain things that are supposed to be positive, like uplifting, or like sound baths and stuff, or certain instruments, or like it sounds that can happen that'll just trigger something totally different in your mind. I mean, it all makes so much sense, but that's so cool that you were able to kind of utilize that within the songs and make and create that frequency and tune to that frequency.
Yeah, it's been really cool to see that resonate. And also it's interesting to see as an artist who your music attracts as a fan.
Mm,
And it's been really beautiful to see the human beings who have been drawn to Jaguar Twin. They're so interesting and cool, and like they're a bunch of weird like geniuses, but all in their own way. Like some know how to read hieroglyphs, and they're just like
wow.
nerds in the coolest way. Like, I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah.
And I can tell you're a nerd too. And I
Oh,
think like
100%.
I love nerds.
Yeah, I love nerding out on that stuff, and I've been, like, obsessed with learning about, like, numerology and all these things, like, it's
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
like, when you're talking about your body being 7% water, like, there's all these theories of why the full moon will change your mood because your body's being pulled like the tide. It's just, like, so many things make sense, and it's like but to try to sit there and wrap your head around it, it blows my mind. I'm like,
Yeah. You know what? I think that's the point. I think the point is to blow one's mind, because the mind will lead us astray. It's a valuable tool, but we got
yeah,
to kind of blow it.
yeah, 100%. I'm curious, like, what was the first instrument you learned, and like, how did you end up getting kind of involved in playing music?
I started playing guitar, but I really didn't like learning and going to lessons. I didn't
Okay.
want to learn other people's songs. I've always had a thing. Even when I was a little kid, I didn't want to learn other people's songs. I wanted to write my own. So I kind of started playing guitar, and I sort of learned how to just do different tunings and
Hmm.
play. I still to this day I play guitar in such a weird way. I just tune them in different ways, and then I play chords and I make up shapes. I don't know really any traditional music. And then I started singing shortly after that, but I was really bad at singing, terrible. Like I couldn't hit a note for years, like to the degree in which like the kids in middle school and even through junior high and high school bullied me because of how bad I was singing. I got kicked out of bands. but it was like the biggest blessing because my junior year of high school, there was a blog site devoted to how bad I was as a singer. And
No
I was like,
way.
yeah.
That's
And
brutal.
yeah, but we're all brutal to each other, you know, like
Yeah, that's true.
it was a blessing. It was a blessing because I read it and it lit this fire. And I said to myself, I'm going to learn how to sing if it kills me. So I just practiced 8 hours a day, every single day for years. And I'm like, I was bad for a long time. It didn't come easily for me. Some people come out the womb and they can
Yeah.
just rip.
That tone, right? Exactly.
But what I learned sort of through the process is one, anybody can learn how to sing or anybody can learn how to do anything if you put your mind to it. But I think the biggest thing that I learned was that singing and pretty much anything is 90% mental.
Mhm.
Yes, there are techniques to learn in singing, and yes, there are things that have helped me, but it was really when I clicked something in my mind, like I can do this. I can believe I can hit this note. I believe that my tone is going to be good. And instead of trying to sing, I started connecting with the story and putting myself in the scene. And then it would kind of just come out. And I still do that to this day. I get into the studio and I'm a very good singer now,
Mhm.
but I still have to run it through like, okay, how technically do I do this? Now turn that off. And then I can just flow and rip and not think about singing. And I say, bad singers focus on pitch and focus on singing. Great singers, they're just in the story.
Oh, I love that. That makes so much sense, though. I mean, yeah, to really kind of feel it and like put yourself in like emotionally. I'm sure that helps you hit notes and in that way as well. Um, but I was gonna say, it's interesting that you said that you didn't let that you couldn't sing because, and maybe this was later. I was just deep dive researching your story, and I found a couple of your old bands, and you were good. I mean, you know,
That was later on.
okay, even
Those
with
I was getting good. Yeah.
because I was saying with Dead Letter Diaries, that was good. Like those two songs that I found online, I was like, damn, like this
Oh
is
wow, you went
cool.
that far back.
Yeah, dude. I was way into it.
That's
What's the song?
incredible.
Quest Long
Wow.
Forgotten with the piano intro. I was like, this is a great
Wow.
tune.
Yeah, man, that's funny. See, that was when I was sort of just finding some confidence and like, okay, I can kind of sing now and getting, my voice has changed a lot even since then.
Oh yeah, you
Um,
listen to that. You can tell you've just gotten older and your voice has
yeah,
matured, but it's
sure.
still good.
But yeah, that I was figuring it out then for sure.
So with that band, was that a band in high school or that was that started after you had graduated?
So that was a band sort of towards the end of high school where it sort of transitioned into the next band, which was Alaska. They were sort of the same band, just sort of like a rename, and then a couple members shifted. But
Okay.
that was yeah, a little later on the journey.
Because Alaska is, I mean, those records are awesome too. I really like that.
Man,
Those. Sorry, go
Alaska
ahead.
ripped. We ripped in Alaska, and we were so between times. We were very because at the time it was very emo music was the
Oh
thing, and
yeah.
it sort of had the flair of that, but it was different. And so we had this interesting thing where we weren't able to tour with the emo bands of the time, and the outlets of that time didn't know what to do with us. So it kind of just went under the radar, but there were some good songs.
Hmm. Yeah. Roll Right Over. That song's great.
Yeah, those slaps.
Dude. Yeah. And I was listening because there's piano in that band as well. You were signed to Fearless, which was
Yeah,
in that line of, it was
great
when
label.
I
Yep.
grew up, yeah, in the time of like drive through and you'd see a band get signed to a Fearless Records or Epitaph or whoever it may be, it was you would check that band out regardless.
That's
Well,
right.
oh well, if they got signed, like oh they got signed to
They
Fearless,
must be good.
they must be good. And I feel like that your band, the only thing I could like, I wouldn't even compare it to like a something corporate, but that's the only band I could think of that has a piano that was around kind of at that
Sure.
time period.
Sure. Yeah.
So you was that. I just to stay on Alaska just for a minute before we go on, obviously talk about Jaguar Twin. You know, getting signed to Fearless and all of that stuff, that must have been a huge moment for you all, or as you know, you as you know, an artist.
Yeah, it was got signed to Fearless shortly after graduating high school. I remember my parents saying, I was like, I'm not going to college. I went to one day of college and then I turned around and never went back. I was like, if I stay here, I'm not gonna be the person I want to be. I just like knew that that was not the path for me.
Hmm.
And they said, okay, well, you have 1 year. You got to get a record deal. If you can get a record deal in 1 year. So it was almost exactly a year after graduating where I signed to Fearless with Alaska.
Wow.
Um, and then we toured the country, and it's funny because you sign a record deal like that and you think it's this big thing, and it is a big thing, but basically they buy you a van and a trailer and they say, okay, you got $5 a day to eat,
Right.
and you go sleep in Walmart parking lots for a couple of years. And that was that, and play shows, and that was that. But it was fun because we were just out of high school, and it was yeah, it was really fun.
That's cool though. Yeah, I know. It's like people assume you know, like you're signed to Fearless, you must be loaded and like just roll, you
Yeah,
know what I mean? Just this idea of what that means is a
right.
totally different than being an early band signed to, or you know, having one thing out with that label and trying to really move your way up. But when you guys disbanded, that's when you started to do your more solo stuff, correct?
Yeah, we disbanded and I started doing solo stuff, which led to some collaborations and some stuff in the EDM dance world and
Yeah, you
some
had a
writing
big
for other
records with
artists.
those. Yeah. I was just off your
Yeah,
discography. I saw you know, you had some real big records in that
yeah,
world.
had a couple big dance records and spent a lot of time in Vegas.
And when do you what was did that lead up then to Jaguar Twin? Or was there a million years between those? And not a million years, but I mean forms and projects and
Between that and Jaguar Twin, I went from doing solo stuff to doing Jaguar Twin.
okay.
Jaguar Twin was and is now where, especially now, where I'm coming into, I'll say this, for a lot of the music, I'm very proud of it, but there was a lot of mental energy behind it and a lot of outside forces sort of um, conducting where it went, or even my own inside mental force being like, I think people will like this, especially in some of the solo stuff and the dance records and those things. There are a lot of great records, but where is the art that you're creating coming from is sort of the question that I ask. And Jaguar Twin is my exploration of really what is my highest self trying to communicate and bring into the earth, as opposed to what will sell or what will make money or what will be successful or what does my manager want to hear or what does my record label want to hear. There's always been a struggle with that. And I think with this Jaguar Twin music now, I'm just really trusting. And I think Happy Face was a big catalyst for that
Yeah.
because it was a song that I was signed to a major label and, told the song sucked, dropped from the major label. And then it
Oh,
ended up
really?
dropped from the major label and they gave the song back. Like, we don't need this. Because usually labels will have an override. If you did a song during the period, they'll take a cut of it if you release it in the future. But like,
Okay.
this song,
Or they just own it,
this,
right? To make sure that it doesn't come out.
or they could do that. Yes.
Yeah.
Um, so in the scheme of things, like, there's no bad vibes with them. It was just like people have their perspectives, and artists were antennas. So we receive information sometimes before it's been seen in the physical, but it's hard to trust that because there's not always a logical explanation you can give someone to why something works. You just kind of sort of like feel like I like this or this is good, and that song was a big confirmation because I released it independently after that, maybe a year later. And it was written in maybe 18 or beginning of 19.
Mm-hmm.
And only now it's like, okay, now it's at 100 million streams, and it just,
Yeah.
it's just going, and it continues to just grow and grow and grow. But after that, I was like, I need to trust myself forever, no matter what. Doesn't matter what anybody else says. I'm going to trust myself.
Yeah, because you knew it was going to work, that no one or the label at the time didn't believe in it, and it worked, right? I mean, you put it out and it was
I
something
don't
that
even know if I knew it was going to work. I don't even know if it was going to work in terms of success. I just knew that it was what I was supposed to be doing. And I
okay,
think that's sort of like, you don't know if something's going to work or not, but I know that it doesn't work really when you're creating from a place of wanting people to like it. Never
sure.
has worked. It's like when you
You
really, really like someone so much, you push them away.
right,
It's the
right.
same
That's
energy.
fascinating. Yeah. That's just hearing you speak. I mean, I don't know if you've delved into numerology at all, but I feel like you are like, I don't know a whole lot, but like I just have this feeling that you're like what's 11, which is like this power number, but I'd be curious if you did it because you get that intuition.
Um, 11 is very strong in many ways. I love numerology. I'm super into numerology and
Okay.
hermetics and Kabbalah and all
Sure.
that fun, all that fun stuff.
Okay. Yeah. I don't, the last person I spoke to, I've done thousands of these interviews, and one person that I kind of had that feeling from, I asked them and they're like, I don't know. And then I sent them this link a while back and they messaged me and they're like, oh my gosh, you were right. I was I'm like, I figured. I don't know. I don't know a whole lot about it, but I just kind of get that vibe from you. But anyway, yeah, so that song works. It does really well. Our labels pounding at your door again, like, hey, actually, remember when we didn't, did you get any of that, or was it just you just move forward?
I started moving forward, and then a label approached me, a country label approached me called Big Loud, and they were
Oh
starting
yeah.
a new alternative rock division. And Big Loud, they have like Morgan Wallen and
Yeah, I'm
country
in
country.
Nashville. They're a huge Nashville
Yes,
label.
huge and
Yeah.
great label. And
I
they
think they have
approached me, and at
Hardy. They
first
got a bunch of
they
big,
have
yeah,
Hardy. That's
yeah,
right.
country
Yep,
guys.
Hardy's great. They approached me at first, and I was like, I don't want to sign a deal. And there was maybe 3 or 4 times where I was like, they offered deals, and I was like, you guys are really cool, and I really enjoyed talking to them. I got really good vibes and energy from them.
Mhm.
Um, and then eventually, after a few kind of times, just saying like, I don't want to sign a label. I've done this. I've been on multiple major labels. I've been on indie labels. It's never it's never worked. They're like, well, what would your what would your ideal situation be where we could make this work? And we came to a really cool, um, very like artist friendly agreement. And so I'm with Big Loud Rock now,
Yeah,
and they've been really, really, really great.
that's awesome. That is awesome. And you did, well, you put 33 out, the album, and The Circle, which was an EP that came out this year, correct?
Mhm.
And is that like a concept record? I mean, it's the great Jaguar myth. Like, what's the kind of thought behind the album or the EP?
The Circle is it's a story about how everything was created. And I think oftentimes humans are able to grasp concepts more when it's not a human telling the story or are featured in the story, when it's an animal. There's something about animals, even from early ancient days, cave paintings, you would say. They would make stories about animals. Um, and even Walt Disney, he uses animals
Yeah.
to tell stories, because there's it's difficult to look at our reflections as humans in each other and in stories. And so sometimes when you personify it as something else, or even as a superhero or a character that's not a human, our subconscious can receive stories better. So the circle is the story of us. It's it's our Genesis story in a way.
And that's what, from what I was reading, that's kind of why you went with Jaguar, right? Like as Jaguar Twin is the project's name because of mystical, something mystical, correct? Or was I reading something totally wrong? I don't know.
Well, I do love the mystical. The name Jaguar Twin is from Mayan mythology,
Okay, that's what it
so
was.
it is very mystical. Um, and the jaguar is the creature who goes into the dark places within itself
Mhm.
and goes in without fear, and so therefore it can see into others and go into others and go into the dark places. And Jaguar Twin for me, I've known and felt such deep, deep depression and anxiety, and like just felt like I don't want to be alive. I've felt those things and I know what that's like. And I've lived years of my life, especially younger, growing up like that, where I couldn't go to the grocery store, like crippling. But I also know that everyone and anyone is capable of conquering that because I did. And so with the music, there's always this sort of polarity going on within the music of dark and light.
Mhm.
You know, even Happy Face is a dark bed of music with very happy lyrics. But it's like my mission, I feel like, is to allow people to know themselves and to pull people who are as lost as I was out of the darkness.
I mean, I've also suffered from depression, anxiety, all those things. Like, how were you able to? Did you use music as kind of a way to pull yourself out of that rut, or is it just something that you had to work through for years?
I think we all find our tools. Music can be a huge tool.
Mhm.
And I think it's less about what the tool is and more about how you go about it. Like I've been very lost making music too,
Mhm.
making it from different spaces, let's say, in the mind, different levels of awareness. And but music was a tool for me to help explore. The difference is though, it has to be to get out of, say, depression, anxiety. If you're making music, you have to tell the truth about what you're actually thinking and feeling, and not trying to write to make it successful. That's where I fucked up
Oh, yeah,
early
yeah, yeah.
on.
I see what you're saying.
So anything can be a tool, you know. And I
Mhm.
think for me, meditation started helping a lot, and I always felt like I will never be someone who meditates. My brain just goes crazy. But I started 10 minutes a day, every
Yep.
day, no matter what. At least I'm going to do this every day. And then increased to, 2 hours a day at one point. And now I'm more between 30 minutes and an hour a day. And I do other practices that are, rituals to help the mind. But I think you got to find your own thing. But for me, yeah, studying ancient cultures and mythology and meditation and quantum physics and metaphysics and different religions and sort of how they come all together. Kabbalah has been a huge one that has helped me sort of understand the nature of one's inner world and the reflection of that in the outer.
I love that. Yeah, I was just typing in Kabbalah because I don't know a whole lot about it, but you are such a fascinating person to speak with because like I just feel like yeah, like meditation, all these things that you're speaking are practices that I've tried in my own life, and it's like it is hard to do, right? I mean, the first time you sit down, you're like, how is this going to
Oh
do
yeah,
anything for me? My mind's thinking of a
totally,
million things, and there's always the one
totally.
basic one is just like every breath you count to 10 and then back down. And if you start wandering, then you go back to one. And like that was the first one I was, yeah, learned. And then like it's really, I mean, it makes sense, but it's also one of those things where you're like, how is just kind of stopping my mind really this
Mm,
beneficial? But it so
wow.
is.
Well, yeah, and that's a really great point, Adam. Is especially when I started doing this meditation practice, I was like, this is not doing anything. What is this going to do?
Right.
However, what's so interesting is you get to this place of like, even if you can be still for a moment, it's incredible. And then being able to observe oneself, to observe your thoughts, because if as we're here on this call, now we're sharing this connection, and I can feel what you're feeling and you can feel what I'm feeling, and we can do that with everyone. Everyone is telepathic, right? For lack of a better word. It's just one's um awareness of oneself, because you experience everything in the external as your own internal world. So if you go and walk into a party and you feel nervous, is that me, or is that the energy of this party, or is that this person, are they feeling nervous? And then you begin to distinguish, as you grow in meditation and flex that muscle, what is your own thought and feeling versus what is someone else, and you can pick those things up. And it's extremely helpful.
Yeah, no, 100%. Yeah, it is like just being quiet and kind of listening to your own inner thoughts is so beneficial, and in a way where when I first heard people, oh, you should meditate. I'm like, yeah, what is that gonna do? And then it's just like
Yeah.
it's life changing, honestly. But
Hmm.
well, let's talk about Life is Good. That's the latest record that you have put out. You have a feature on there with Angel Baby, and tell me about that song.
Yeah, life is good is a fun one. What do you want to know about it?
It's a fun song. I really like it. Where was it? Was it written in a similar, I mean, good time? Like, are these songs all part of the same batch that's going to become a bigger project? Like, just
Mm.
what's kind of the basis of that song, and then where will it lie in moving forward?
All these songs are my exploration of my ancestors. Right now, I'm really on this Russian, German, Polish wave. They all sort of have this like, it's my roots, and it's so interesting when music is embedded like this thing in your DNA, and there's millions of people who have come before this, and exploring that sonically. And then, you know, even a song like, the chorus is life is good, I'm great, another circle around the sun, the world's in flames, but at least we're having fun. It's sort of this like, it's kind of tongue in cheek, but it's also not. Like, life is really good. It can be so disturbing to hear things on the news, and to hear, even just to hear your own mental chatter and the things going around. And even like this past weekend, I was in this environment where it was just like so crazy, and I was like, wow. But like, as soon as I focused into the present moment, like, it's all good, it's all
Yeah,
good, it's all good. um so it's more of that, and they're these sort of light and dark mantras that I've been creating.
I love it. That's crazy. You said it's all good 3 times, and then like a thumbs up just came up on your screen. That was like some weird
Ah,
AI thing. That
that's great.
just blew my mind. Sorry, I was
That's
distracted for
great.
a half a second. It was so weird.
Life is good.
And then it
Well,
was like,
we have
darn.
life is good, and we have good time
Good
108.
time.
We
Yeah.
got we got double good.
What's the 108?
Mm. That may have to be figured out at some point by
Okay.
someone. But yeah,
All right. Hidden
there's a
message.
message in there. I say that because you study numerology.
Yeah. I do. I'd have to now knowing that I'm gonna have to go back and look at it and maybe even listen to the lyrics again of the song. Or is it just
Hmm.
in the title that I should know? I'd have to know.
You can contemplate a little bit of both.
Okay, now I'm gonna have to sit here and I'll figure it out later. And then I'll message you and be like, dude, I figured it
That's great.
out. um awesome. So with this batch of songs, are you gonna put them out onto like a full project, or what are you thinking ahead?
At the moment, I'm gonna keep releasing singles. I got a new single coming in a couple weeks that I'm very excited about. It's called Bad Feeling, and it's a really good one. And just gonna keep putting out singles, exploring this sound.
Awesome, awesome. And I want to talk to you real quick about the Time magazine. You were on the cover of Time magazine for this it's a project, correct?
Mhm.
With yeah, the Gen Zero. What is this project that you have? And is it all yours? It looks like there's multiple people involved, and I haven't really got a chance to look too deep into it, but I was checking out the website and everything.
Yeah, there's multiple artists and people involved. There's people from like there's indigenous people, there's um different organizations. It's basically all just to help our planet in whatever ways we can, clean up, be good to our Mother Earth. And my friend Justin hit me up about it a little while back, and he's like, "Hey, is this something that you'd be interested in?" And there's different sort of things you can be a part of. And the one that I chose to be a part of was cleaning up our oceans. So making more ocean sanctuaries
Hmm.
for oceans to recover. And like our fish have been like really poisoned by mercury, like the fish that we eat and consume from overfishing and oil drilling and certain things. And so it's to help protect that and do what we can for that. It's interesting because for me, activism is this sort of dual-edged thing, because I like whatever you fight, you become. And so I'm very careful and cautious with any type of activism, because I also believe that like we don't need to spread more fear and panic. And and
Hmm.
often there's fear and panic around, climates that are stuff that we're talking about, such as climate change. But there doesn't need to be fear and panic, but we can do what we can to take care of our planet.
Hmm. Yeah, because it looks like there's a bunch of different pieces to it, like
Mhm.
the plastics in the ocean, or
Yep.
oil and all the, and so with that, like if you, and then there's like a point system to it. I was trying to figure out. So like if you donate or help out, you would obtain point. Like do you kind of give me a basis of what it is?
Yeah, so that's the really cool part about this is you can, if there's something that resonates with you, say it's composting at your house,
Uh-huh.
then you can do that and you can log your points and earn points by doing that, like on the app. Or there may be a food bank to go work at, and you can go do that and log points. There's all sorts of different things, or planting trees, or a bunch of different things. As you add points, there's some really cool things. Like if you get enough, you can have these like mentorship programs with certain people, or get an electric motorcycle. Or there's smaller things, just like free supplies of yerba mate or different
Oh,
things. But
cool.
it's a pretty cool way to incentivize people to do something that they probably would want to do anyway.
Yeah, I love that. That's amazing. And then back with Jaguar Twin, are you doing any tours coming up? I know you've played a bunch of shows and done big things and played with big artists. Like, do you have anything coming up anytime soon?
2024, I'm hoping to do a tour.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. Well, I appreciate your time today. And I think I figured out the number now. It just smacked me in the face when you were talking.
108,
Yep.
hit
I'll
me.
You want me to tell you?
Yeah.
Okay. Is it the angel number?
They're in what way?
And with one being the first
Uh-huh.
person, and how does the 0 and 8, I'm trying to remember. It's like with number one is like, let me remember. I know it's the angel number. I got to remember what all the numbers then significantly mean, because it's 108 and one being uh
You could look at one as the magician card in tarot,
okay.
and you could look at eight as the strength card in tarot. And then
Because
you could
8 in
also,
numerology is wealth. So I think one is what new beginnings, or being first, or I'm trying to remember. But you explain it. I'm just cutting you off now. I'm trying to like sort out in my mind.
no, there's a lot behind 108.
Okay. But
And
was I in the right
you're in,
direction?
yes, yeah, you're going in the right
Okay.
direction. You could also ponder on the uh the letters that are associated with 1 and
Wh-
8,
Okay.
the English letters. in the alphabet.
Okay.
You can do some homework.
Now I'm
Contemplate on
going
it.
to. Now you're blowing my. Yeah, again, we're going back to the. Now I got to remember. But I just remember 108 being the angel number and 1 being like the sign of new beginning. And then I was trying to remember what 0 was, but 8 is wealth and numerology. But in tarot card, it means something else. So now I'm going to have to like pull these things together to figure it out, then message you.
Well, it's all linked. It's all linked. Yep.
Well, I appreciate your time. Thank you again so much for doing this. I have one more quick question for you before I let you go. I want to know if you have any advice for aspiring artists.
Trust yourself deeply. Learn how to know the difference between the voice in your head and your mind and your heart, your intuition, that smaller voice that often doesn't make sense. But nonsense is the only sense that makes sense. Bring it back.